West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel and Santokie, and with me as ever is my partner in crime, Santokie Nagilendran. Santokie, how you doing?
Yeah, Mash. You know when West Indies win, in the Gabba or in a Multan, you see a lot of fans come out the woodwork and say, West Indies are here, West Indies are back. We love West Indies cricket. But Mash, we're here covering West Indies cricket and out in the trenches. We're out here looking at the regional championship. If you aren't getting a stream on YouTube watching down bad regional cricket, you're not a true West Indies fan. As ever, Mash, we're going to continue our regional review, looking at the games which happened in round 2, the ups, downs, the low, highs, lows, who's put their name forward for a test recall, who's been utterly down bad. We're here to review everything that happened ahead of round 3 starting in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's a weird one, Santokie, because I was saying in the Discord group the other day and if I can afford to be bossy for 30 seconds or so, when we first started CCP, I don't remember people giving a damn about what was going on in the West Indies Championship. I don't remember going online and people dissecting West Indies Championship and looking at top run scorers and looking at who's got the latest hundreds and who's got 5 and what might this mean for the test side. Whenever I think back to what has been the impact of CCP on the West Indies cultural zeitgeist, I always think the biggest impact we've had is people caring about what goes on in the West Indies. And I'm being deadly serious. I'm not even joking. I think it's been probably one of the biggest impacts we've had on the conversations in West Indies cricket. But I say that to say the following. I think coming off the back of the miracle in Multan, people have been eager to read a lot into what's happened in round 1 and round 2. Yeah. And I'm not really feeling it, Santokie. Not in that I'm not feeling the tournament, but I'm not feeling the hot take culture. Yeah. So I don't know. Let's take an example. So this earlier today, I went on the comment section of reactions to our videos, because whenever we get a comment, I get a notification, and quite a few people had messaged us today on YouTube saying, what about Cephas Cooper for Trinidad? Why are you not talking about him as an opener for the West Indies team? And I was thinking, what? Wait, what? What's going on? What do people mean? and I didn't cuss, but I feel like that's where we're at now, Santokie. I don't know if that says a lot about where the standards of our cricket are, that people are so desperate that anyone who scores a century or anyone who takes a fifer, the immediate conclusion is, they should get a look in. Or have you seen some performances in the opening weeks of the tournament, Santokie, which have made you sit up and go, okay, yeah, let's have a conversation?
Yeah, exactly. I think like you said, Mash, it's hot take culture. I think it's partly just society nowadays. Everyone's looking for hot take, short-term solutions. And it's partly, Mash, I guess if you look at last season, Mikael Luby played 7 games and got thrown into Lords. So essentially, we started this culture because of a lack of, proven talent in the region of basically fast-tracking players. So it's not out of the realms of possibility. Somebody could have 2 good scores in the regional season and find themselves in the West Indies team. So I think fans have come to sort of expect that short-termism. But I'll look at the first 2 rounds and I'll be cautiously optimistic if someone puts together scores, but I need to see it after 7 rounds, Mash. I need to see the season in full, let it marinate before we can make any sweeping judgments about whether someone's ready for international cricket. Because you can't say, all right, let's say a man hit a 50 against CCC. You can't say, all right, cool, well, they can score against Pat Cummins and Mitchell Stark in the summer there, and that's it, done. We have to acknowledge the standard of the regional game and also kind of have that consistency, and can players show that consistency against 7 games? Because most of these players are at a standard where they can hit a big score. They're capable of hitting a big score. It's whether they can have that consistency. And I think what's been telling Mash in the second round compared to the first round is we've seen the returning West Indies internationals who were down bad for a lot of time in Pakistan and against Bangladesh previously. We've seen them lay down the marker and put down big scores and show, listen, there's still a gap between international quality players and the rest of the region. So we're going to talk through it, Mash, but I agree. I think Cephas Cooper, for instance, I'm sure he's a talented player. He's had a great start for Trinidad and Tobago, but with all due respect, he shouldn't be in the conversation for West Indies opener selection at this point in time. Come May, when we've done 7 rounds, let's continue that conversation.
Do you think the Machel Louis experiment should be warding off any kind of repetition this year, right? Going into Australia, then then India later in the year, then New Zealand. So as you said, Louis got in off the back of his first 7 first-class games ever. Top run scored in the run charts, went straight to England, and 9 test matches later, he's averaging 19 or 20, I think it might be, and looking down bad. And we know he's down bad because he's come back to the regional game. And I think in his first match, he scored 4 and maybe 17 or something. I can't even remember what his second innings was. So we know he's in a bit of a funk, right? Let's just say, argument's sake, someone like Cooper did top score. Unlikely, but let's say it happens. He top scores through the whole 7 rounds. I'm going to put it out there straight away, Santokie. He doesn't make any West Indies team of mine, no matter what. We can't do that again. We can't make the jump from, your top run scorer equals selection. Because in the same way, right, how people would go, Jason Mohammed shouldn't be selected because he's 38 years old, right?
Yeah.
If he top run scores, is the same way I'd make the correlation and say, next man Cooper shouldn't get selected either because he's clearly too inexperienced to make that jump. Or do you think that's the wrong way to look at it?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a logical way to approach things. But if you look at, all right, let's say Machel Louis is averaging 19 in Test cricket, so there's a very realistic possibility he doesn't be named in the squad against Australia later in the summer, depending on how the regional season goes. So if we have a gap in that opening position, someone needs to fill it. If we're looking at the regional season, we sort of have to, there's going to come a point where you probably have to take another gamble and either pick someone massively inexperienced, like a Cephas Cooper, or someone who's sort of older in their 30s and a more experienced player. Because as we've talked about, Mash, with the regional game, that bracket of 21 to 26, there's a whole cohort who have sort of missed opportunities or haven't developed at the right rate. So we've essentially got a regional season where the standouts tend to be really young players who have nothing to lose and come in with a fresh attitude, or those veteran players who have played so many regional games, they know what to do. Exactly that. So I think we're stuck in a cycle at the moment, Mash, because if Machel Louis doesn't get picked as an opener and we have a gap, there's no obvious candidates at the moment who can fill that void. You'd be looking at someone like a Tejnawan Chanderpaul and thinking, okay, cool. He'd be the logical candidate if he put together runs, but he hasn't put together runs last season and the start of this season. So we've got a gap. And obviously West Indies, we've talked about the small talent pool. Essentially, you're forced to make a gamble when you have a selection based on the regional season.
Let's pick out one guy who I'm sure everybody wants us to talk about. So as you were talking, I just quickly penned down who were the Centurions so far, and I've probably missed someone, but I think it's Kavem Hodge hit 126 versus Trinidad.
Yeah.
Blackwood hit, I can't remember what he hit, but it was in the first round versus Windwards. I want to say 119 maybe or something like that. Has Mohammed got 2? I feel like he's got 2, he's got 2. 1 versus Windwards and 1 versus, is it CCC?
Yeah, CCC.
John Campbell just hit 1 in the last round versus Leewards. Cooper's hit 1 in the last round versus Windwards. And Drake's has hit 1 versus West Indies Academy. Craig has hit a double versus West Indies Academy. And Imlak has hit 1 versus, who did Guyana just beat? CCC. So there's actually 2 sets of arguments I want to go with here. First things first, I'll go to that player. The player will be the second point. Let's go with a different point. Do runs against West Indies Academy and CCC count? Are they worth the same as runs against Guyana or runs against Trinidad or Jamaica or Leewards?
Absolutely not. They don't. They shouldn't count. They shouldn't be. I think I made this argument last year, and everyone was saying I was disrespecting the thing. But I'm saying, you look at the quality of West Indies Academy and CCC. It's not fair, Mash. If you get there should be this inflated scores you're going to get or amount of wickets, because with all due respect, obviously the West Indies Academy has essentially done part of its job. Players have progressed out of it. You kind of left with a cohort who aren't as talented as the previous carnation of West Indies Academy. And CCC, Mash, I still can't get my head around what is the benefit of CCC. What is the actual? It's sort of just discarded players and sort of players around the region who aren't in a franchise just sort of thrown together. There's not really. I don't get what the long term aim is with CCC at the moment. Who are even the veteran players? Is it Akeem Jordan and is CCC at the moment?
Have they even picked, I don't even know if they've picked any this year. I mean, surely somebody is a veteran player in there, but again, the understanding we've always been told is with CCC, you've got to just be studying something, right? So what, is Akeem Jordan studying something? I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he's not. He might be studying sports science or something for all I know. But do you think West Indies, this goes off on a bit of a tangent, but do you think Cricket West Indies, should be making it clear to the region, these players are all in CCC, and here's the courses they're studying, so at least people know why they're there? Do you think?
Enter the brochure,
Show me your degree. What are you reading, man? Like, we need to know what's going on.
Well, there can't be that many people. There can't be that many aspiring cricketers studying in the region at the moment. If the last time you had to email Darren Ganga the day before the tournament started to get a place in the squad, I'm not sure how far the verification checks go. So yeah. But you know what,
you're saying man are buying degrees, and but seriously, pivoting back. So Craig, for example, just hit a double ton against West Indies Academy, and you tweeted something about only Craig, Desmond Haynes, and Sheho are the only Barbadians to hit double tons in first-class cricket. What is Craig's double ton against West Indies Academy really worth?
Yeah.
Like, do we equate it to a 60? Or is a double ton is a double ton? Because no one else hit a double ton.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is the thing. Like, how are you going to weight it? And we made the joke, Mash. It went viral. Was it a year ago? About, let's say if Leroy Lugg hits 200 against CCC, does he get a call up for Lords? And our point was that obviously we were making a joke, but our point was exactly what you're saying now. How do you weight those runs? Is the new analytic system Cricket West Indies implementing? Is it going to put that in consideration? Because, like you said, Craig Brathwaite's ton against West Indies Academy, double ton. Obviously, it's always an achievement. It's mental fortitude to get a double ton, apply that application. But really and truly, against a down bad West Indies Academy side, is it the same as if he scored that 200 against Guyana Harpy Eagles or Leeward Islands, for instance? So how are we weighting it? So I do think it's slightly disjointed, the seasonal regional season, because CCC and West Indies Academy aren't at the level of the other regional sides this season, at least, and I'd argue last season as well. It's sort of distorted the runs and the statistics we see. But I guess this is the point Cricket West Indies are trying to make. They're looking beyond stats, I guess. I kind of took from that means, if someone does score runs against CCC, it might not necessarily, they're not going to look at the runs and be like, all right, cool, this person's averaging this across the season and scored this many runs. They're probably going to take into consideration who the opposition bowlers were, their strengths, their weaknesses, the type of pitch it was. So to answer in a shorter round way, to answer your question, no, I don't think it runs against CCC and West Indies Academy should hold the same weighting as the other sides. However, this is a professional regional season, so regardless, they'll carry the same points.
Let's talk about John Campbell. So John Campbell, so far in his 4 innings, 3 of them have been substantial. They've been noteworthy. He hit a 78 against Windwards in round 1, and he's just followed that up with, I think it was 100 and I'm not actually sure what the 100 was against Leewards, and I think it was 53. So he's got 2 50s and 100 in 4 innings thus far. As much as we can say, so this is the only exception I've got to the rule thus far, Santokie. As much as I'm like, no hot takes, and let's wait to see how this tournament plays out. If John Campbell's tournament averages out like that, so like if his first 2 rounds are a foreshadow of what is to come for the rest of the tournament, I think he walks straight back into the West Indies team.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's someone who, for reasons outside of the cricket pitch, he had to leave the game for a while. But he was the incumbent Test opener, so you'd imagine basically if he put together runs, which he's shown so far, surely he gets a straight call up because he never technically got dropped from the West Indies side. So it's almost as if he's come back to claim his rightful place as an opener. So I agree, Mash, completely. I think how old is he? 31.
I think he's just turned 32.
Yeah, so he's technically still in the latter stages of what should be a peak career, the peak of your career as a batter. So yeah, I think Mash, if John Campbell puts together the runs, he's got the experience, international experience. He's not a veteran in that regard. He's not 35 plus. So I think he fits the criteria for someone to get a call up under the new Sammy regime.
And then the last two before we move on. Tevin Imlach has obviously done himself. He's not done himself any disservice whatsoever. Return back to the region, hits a ton straight away against who did Ghana play again? Who do you say they played? Can't even remember.
CCP.
Was it? Hold on a minute. Nah. Let me see. Nah, take it back. Nah, but no. Hold on. No, but.
Man did have a big speech about it.
No. The context, because remember, I think Guyana was something for 6 or something down bad. Yeah. I think it was like 87 for something, like for 5 or something, or maybe 100 for 5 or something. So, in the context of where Ghana were in that first innings, technically, Imlach has played a very good knock. I think he then followed it up with an 80-odd in the second inning.
Yeah.
So it's important for someone like Imlach to come back to the region and beat up the region because, yes, technically he now looks like he's going to be the incumbent wicketkeeper, although God knows what Sammy's going to do. But for him to solidify that, he has to have another season where he beats up regional cricket again. Yeah. So I think that's good for him. And then just looking at Jermaine Blackwood, Santokie. I already know that there's going to be enough comments about Jermaine Blackwood. Hit a ton in the first round against the Windwards. Didn't score any runs really against the Leewards. He's the only other person that I've seen score runs where I'm like, if you can replicate this through the season, you might come into the conversation. Or do you think that's too premature for Jermaine Blackwood?
Yeah, if he can hit runs, similar to John Campbell, he's someone who's got international experience. I think he averages like 30 in Test cricket, which isn't great reading, but in the current context of West Indies cricket, you'd take that. So I think Jermaine Blackwood is someone who would be there was an interview as well with him on the Cricket West Indies website where he talked about wanting to get back into the West Indies side, having that desire. So I think he's been through this before in 2019 when he got dropped, and then 2020 we saw him put up big runs in the regional season with Nkrumah Bonner and Josh De Silva that season and work his way back into the West Indies side. So I think he's got the hunger, determination, and yeah, if he puts together runs, I'd expect to see him get a call up as well, just because I think the series against Bangladesh and Pakistan have just highlighted the top order, that lack of experience and just having people who have know-how of having played more than 10 tests. And I think Blackwood and John Campbell fit that criteria. And just going back to Imlach, I think, Imlach averaged 55 last season for Guyana, RP Eagles. This season, 126 and then 80 not out in a vital chase against CCC. So even though it was against CCC, in the context of other batters for Guyana failing, he sort of stood out. And I think because of his showing in with the as a keeper in the Multan series, I think Tevin Imlach is almost for me 100% guaranteed to start as the wicketkeeper against Australia. I can't see, as much as Sammy's coming in, and you know what, Sammy hasn't even talked about wholesale changes. I think we're just assuming he will be because it's a new regime. But I think as much as Sammy would look to make changes, if you've had a wicketkeeper on debut series in Pakistan, play as well as Imlach did behind the stumps, and he's put together runs in the regional season, I don't think there's any justification.
You can't. You cannot. And the thing that's worth reminding people about is that Sammy surely is keeping some of the backroom staff. So like Avanesh, the analyst, will surely, because he's obviously with Sammy for for the white ball squads will surely stay with Sammy for the test team. And you would assume that, yes, Avinash isn't a selector, but you'd assume he'd be like, well, Imlat's just debuted and I like what I saw in Pakistan. I like what I saw from Django in Pakistan. You'd assume that has some sway in telling Sammy, we got to stick with some of these guys. We can't just be
I was wondering how, maybe I should have asked Mars Bascom when he came on the show. How much authority does Sammy have? Because in the selections panel, obviously the senior recruiters will present like a report to Darren Sammy. Is it a case of we highly recommend you should go for this guy, like, and that's where we're taking it, or is it a case of Darren Sammy can just look at the reports and go, well, you know what, I like the look of Johnson Charles. I might give him a call up and ignore all the data. So it'd be interesting to see sort of the advice and reports he gets, how much he needs to take into consideration and how much sort of independence he has in making his own calls, because I think that will play a big factor in sort of the composition of the test side we see in the summer. But I think alongside Craig Brathwaite, I think Tevin Imlach is 100% guaranteed to play in that first test against Australia in June.
Yeah, Brathwaite, Afanase, and Imlach, I think, are the only players in the top 7 who can say my spot should be relatively secure going into the Australia series. Anybody else, I can make an argument for why they should be sweating, right? Let's move to the bowlers, Santokie. So a very successful round for some of the bowlers in the region. Before we go break it down, though, so these are the top wicket takers after 2 rounds of the West Indies Championship. Carrie Pierre has 21 wickets, having taken 8 for 27 and 4 for 17 against, who did Trinidad just bowl down? Was it Winwoods? It was the Winwoods, right? So he took 12 wickets in the match. So he's the top wicket taker in the region. Joshua Bishop for the Academy has 14. Rakeem Cornwall has 13. But Sammy Permol has 10. And then the sole pacer in the region, Ronaldo Ali Mohammed, has 9. That is a depressed. After 2 rounds, Santokie, I read that. When I was putting together the top 5, I read it and I was depressed. I was like, nah. What, Cornwall and Permol are just there again, cuz. They're there every season. Cornwall and Permol.
Joshua Bishop's joining the crew, He's taking up the Nikita Miller role, because now Joshua Bishop, we saw him take 30 wickets last season. This season he's got off to a fast start. Mash, in 2-3 years, we're going to be having the same convo. Permol, Cornwall and Bishop out of his spinning, man, forever and ever.
No, but seriously. And the thing is, obviously, Miles Bascom came on the show last week and said, and said that Kookaburra ball, the bowlers have to work harder to take wickets, and it should improve their skill set. And I totally get it. And I agree with Miles on that. But still seeing the spinners just like, I don't know how far back we have to go. I think if you go all the way back to 2012, it's probably even earlier than that. You go back to 2012 and you'll see Nikita Miller bowling down the region, right? Yeah. Season after season, and then it slowly transitions into Permol bowling down the region. Then it transitions to Permol and Cornwall bowling down the region. We've had 13 years of spinners bowling down the region. At what point, Santokie, do we turn around and go, something's wrong?
It doesn't make any sense, Mash. It's like, there's no other team more synonymous with pace bowling and success than West Indies. And out of nowhere, we just made every pitch in the region a spinner's paradise for no reason. And then the worst thing is, the man that are bowling down everyone, we don't even call them up for the West Indies. Permol, remember Permol in 2020, I think it was 8 first-class games. The man took 50 wickets, and they didn't even call him up for the next series, which was against England. So I don't understand, what's the lesson of this? Why are we creating? It would make sense if we were doing this and we were picking these guys for West Indies and we were spinning down teams across the world. But it doesn't make any sense, Mash. We've kind of cut off our own foot at the moment, because our strength is pace bowling. We've seen talented pace bowlers come out of the region in spite of the pitches. Jaden Seals being the most recent example, and Shamar Joseph now. But we're not creating pitches that are conducive to it, because you can't have year on year mash. Jimbo, Pamul, now Joshua Bishop, Kari Pierre taking 8 wickets as well as a madness in the second innings, because
eight for 27, guys.
and he's someone who only really in the last 2 years he started playing first red ball games. Before he was like a white ball specialist. So for him to come in and do that kind of shows you how it is. And then Jamal Warrican as well took a bag of wickets as well, so in his game back. So I don't understand the point of it. We need to do an episode on this, sort of what led to this transition of West Indies suddenly becoming a spinner's paradise across the region. But Mash, as you said, Kari Pierre, 8 wickets. It's interesting because he was someone who at one point was along the lines of Akil Hussain in terms of his potential. And we've seen Akil Hussain rise to being the number 1 ranked T20 bowler in the world. Kari Pierre's not really managed to get on the franchise circuit, not been in West Indies setup for years. So it looks like he's kind of destined to be a regional standout. But I guess it is what it is with him. With him taking 8 wickets, for me, that shows you how conducive the pitches are for spin, because he's not someone who you'd consider a premier spinner in red ball cricket.
But do you know what's even worse about it? So Kari Pierre, slow left arm. Joshua Bishop, slow left arm. Obviously, Rakeem is an off spinner. Permo, slow left arm. Current spinners in the West Indies team, Gudakesh Moti, Jamal Warrican, slow left arm.
And Moti's back. Moti's back for the 3rd round. King Moti.
So anyway, we got our top 3 of our top 4 wicket takers can't even get in the West Indies team because the 2 guys already in the West Indies team aren't even going to get dropped anytime. It don't matter how many wickets Joshua Bishop takes. He's not getting called up to the West Indies team ahead of Moti or Warrican. So what are we achieving? What is being achieved here? we ain't creating no competition for places.
You reminded me as well, for that whole England tour, I only saw one West Indies fan with a jersey on that had a player's name on it in the whole England tour. You were there as well.
Yeah.
And it was someone wearing the Ronaldo Ali Mohammed shirt.
Yeah, I spoke to him. I swear, if he's listening to this, I swear it was his cousin. Because I remembered looking at it going, wait, of all the people to have on the back of the shirt, big England Test series, and it's Ronaldo Ali Mohammed on the back of someone's shirt. And that's why I went and spoke to him, and it was like, yeah, that's my cousin.
Oh,
and in fairness, I think he was saying that because I think Ronaldo played in the West Indies. He was like former West Indies. All of these players that we always talk about when people listen to this show, all of them have the same story. Former West Indies under-19 international, then disappears after the World Cup and suddenly turns up at 25 years old in a franchise team, having gone into the Bermuda Triangle between the age of 19 to 25.
Big up Ronaldo Ali Mohammed and big up his cousin, whoever it was that was listening to it, pulled off big England series with the Ali Mohammed top,
He foreshadowed it. He knew what was coming. He knew what was coming this season. So, in terms of the just the points table, so for those who don't know, I should really share the screen.
Mash, before we get into the points table, let's do one last shout out for. You mentioned Kavem Hodges' century 126, history making in West Indies cricket. He scored 75% of the team's run. That's never been done before in first class cricket in the West Indies. So to put it into context, Kavem Hodge scored 126. The next highest score in the whole team was Stefan Pascal, scored 9 runs. So nobody's hit double digits. Kavem Hodge out here hitting a century despite wickets falling all around him. So it was a record-breaking moment for the region with Kavem Hodges' innings, but it also showed you how down bad things are at the moment, that no one could put together even double digits against the Trinidad and Tobago side.
Listen, on a serious note, if Winwood's next game is against CCC, starting tomorrow, that obviously it's a fantastic performance by Kavem Hodge, but it's a bad enough performance by Winwoods to ask questions about what is the purpose of the Leeward Islands team. Sorry, we have to be honest. No cricket team should Santokie, that scorecard is ridiculous. No one should be able to score 126 out of 163 and the next highest score be 9. That's not, it's not even real life. How can that possibly be real life? So
And the thing is, it wasn't like,
Go on.
off the top of my head, Solizano was in that lineup, Sunil Ambers. It wasn't like it
Yeah,
was a complete inexperience. And Leeward Islands were close last season to winning the title. And so
yeah,
it'd be interesting to know sort of what's happened in the season. And just on that as well, Trinidad and Tobago, obviously, unusually, their head coach, David Furlong, left or resigned after the first game to take up a job at Queen's Park Cricket Club, so the most famous local club in Trinidad and Tobago. That as well seems slightly unusual for someone to go from a national head coach job to taking up a club cricket job, and also to leave the position after one game. So Ryan Emirates, former West Indies fast bowler, has taken over as a permanent head coach in Trinidad and Tobago, and he got off to a winning start against the down bad Leeward Islands. So looking at it at the moment, Mash, I know you're going to get into the points table. It looks like it's going to be a three-way tussle between Guyana, Leeward Islands, and Trinidad and Tobago for the title. Trinidad, I think, haven't won the regional title in over 20 years.
yeah, for real. Let me share the screen. So just to let people know, in terms of points screen, can you see the Santokie? I don't even know if you can see. Yeah. So in terms of the points right now, so Leeward Islands lead with 45.4, Harpy Eagles second with 45.2. Trinidad third, 44.4, and yeah, like you say, those are clearly the first three right now. They've won their first three games. Although probably the game of the round, Santokie, starting tomorrow, is Leeward Islands are at home against TNT, so that's clearly the game of the round. Jamaica are fourth with 29.4, Barbados fifth with 28.6, CCC 7.2. That's how down bad Leeward Islands are, that they're not even above CCC. Leeward Islands 5.6, and Santokie, West Indies Academy are last with 4 points. Now, come on. Now, that's 4. But again, we can have a different debate on a different show one day about the standards at the bottom end of the table. In terms of fixtures coming up this week, I mean, Guyana play West Indies Academy in a day-nighter at Providence. You would assume that Guyana will win that match. I said this about when they played CCC, and it didn't happen inside 2 days. But you would assume in a day-nighter that Guyana will win that match very quickly against West Indies Academy. Leeward Islands are at home versus CCC. So that's a bottom of the table clash. I believe that is in Dominica. I think I've been told that game's being played. Barbados are at home against Jamaica, and the Leeward Islands are at home against Trinidad and Tobago. The one thing I would say, Santokie, just looking at my fixture list here, the one thing I would say is Guyana, 4 of their 7 games, I think we mentioned it before, 4 of their 7 games are at Providence. It is very hard to beat Guyana, or this iteration of Guyana, in their own conditions. Their first 3 games are at home. I'd be shocked, Santokie, if they lose any game at home. And if they win 4 of their 7 games, or if they win all their home games, they kind of already guaranteeing themselves that they're probably going to end in the top 2.
Yeah, I mean, they've only lost 1 home game in the last 10 years, and that was to Barbados Pride. So generally, they know what to do in home conditions. We've seen a trend so far in their first 2 games. They concede a big first innings, but then spin it down in the 3rd and 4th innings. So they know exactly what they're doing. As we said, Gudakesh Moti is back as well, so that will reinforce their spin artillery in that game against who are they playing tomorrow?
West Indies Academy.
Yeah, West Indies Academy. That's it. Tejnaran Chandapur injured. So it looks like he's going to be missing that. Hopefully not as serious. It's to do with the webbing on his hand, so hopefully he'll be back for that. But after this round match, the 3rd round, we have a break of about a month. So it'll be interesting to see sort of how players sort of practice and develop during that month break, and the composition of squads coming back. But I think, Mash, looking at it from an overall perspective, as a West Indies fan, first and foremost, looking at the West Indies international side, as good as it is for himself, how down bad would it be for the region as a whole if nearly 39-year-old Jason Mohammed ended up top scoring this regional season? He's averaging 140. I
mean, on one hand, it would be down atrocious if it happened. But then I look back, let's go back, about 6 years. How many years in a row did Devon Smith top score, right? and Devon Smith was a regional bully. Would be every season just beating up on the regional bowlers, get to international level, and he couldn't convert it. So I don't think under any circumstance we'll see Jason Mohammed be called up to any kind of West Indies squad or anything like that. But if he dominated, do you know what? Here's my take, Santokie. If Jason Mohammed dominated the regional championship this year and ended up as top scorer, it would set a marker and a challenge, or it should do, to the younger players in the region to say, why is this uncle beating up? Why is he better than all of you lot? Respectfully to Jason Mohammed, a 38-year-old uncle shouldn't be dominating above everybody else in the tournament. So it sets a challenge and a marker down to everybody else to raise their standards. But let's see. Let's see how it all pans out.
Yeah, so we'll probably be doing this time next week a review of the third down, see what happens, see if anyone can build on their scores, or if we see some new batters or bowlers come with some standout performances. As ever, we'll be out here watching the Down Bad regional season, out here in the Trenches Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Nobody covers it like I do. Before we go, Mash, when you having your Lord of the Mics battle with Uncle that challenged you?
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So, no, Santokie, you haven't seen it yet. So yesterday on the live show, there was a caller who came on called Yardman, and we had a 40-minute Lords of the Mic back and forth, and after that I realized I can't do the same. It was two Jamaicans going back and forth, and at the end of it I was like, nah, I can't do this. Like, it's long. So the Lord of the Mics challenge versus Cricket Forum will not be happening. It would benefit his entity, but I don't think it would benefit ours. So if you can call it raising the white flag, but I'm not doing it.
CCP, man, number one. We're number one out here, man. We don't need to have no Lord of the Mics diss battles with anyone out here. So Cricket Forum, if you're listening to this, unfortunately, we have to decline your challenge with much reluctance. You won't be able to mash them up. But anyway, Mash. As always, like, follow, share, subscribe, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon.com/Carry Cricket if you'd like to donate. We're out here on Facebook, we're out here on Blue Sky, we're out here everywhere that's got social media. We're out here. We'll be back very soon. Mash, I'm sure you've got some episodes lined up for the week. We'll both be back probably for the next round of the regional season review next week. Never a dull day in West Indies cricket. So if something does happen, if there's some big news, we haven't even talked about the governance reform.
I was going to say, we'll have to do a show on that. We didn't even mention the governance reform. So look out for that, people, as well.
Governance reform, a lot going on, even though West Indies international cricket's on a break, there's always something going on in the region. So we'll be here to cover it. CCP, by the fans, for the fans. Thank you all. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time you're listening to or watching this in the world. Take care. We'll see you very soon.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket.